Hi, welcome to our virtual Crafters Corner. My name is Rachel and I'll be leading the craft today. Even though we can't do this craft in person, I hope that you can follow along with this video and hopefully bring a little luck when you're making your koi fish at home. So let's get started. So since we can't go out to our craft stores and buy all of our supplies right now, I figured I would use some of the supplies around my house to create these koi fish. So what I have today is a toilet paper roll. That'll be the body of our fish. Then, of course, we have our paints and lots of tissue paper and regular paper and even some ribbon. So, to get started, in case you didn't know, koi fish are supposed to be good fortune or luck in Japan. So we wanted to create a little luck today and create our koi fish to bring some luck into spring. I think we could all use it a little bit right now. So first, take your toilet paper roll and grab some orange paint. If you don't have any orange paint, you can mix red and yellow to get orange. Luckily, I already have some. So what I'm just gonna splash it right on my paintbrush, and I'm gonna cover this entire thing in orange. Now, koi fish are typically orange, but you feel free to get creative. You don't have to be the typical orange. Maybe you want your fish to be, say, purple, maybe blue, maybe your favorite color. Whatever that may be, feel free to get creative today and paint your fish along with that. All right, so now that my toilet paper roll is completely orange, I'm going to set him aside to dry a little bit. Once he is dry, I might add another coat of orange, just depending on how the color looks to me. If I want him to be a little bit brighter, I might add a little bit more orange. But if I like the color that he is, I might just keep it that way. So while he's drying, what I'm going to do is I am going to go ahead and create the fins of the fish. I already have two cut out for me, but how I made these guys is I simply took my brush and I kind of made a C, half C shape like that. And then I simply filled in with the rest of the color there. Just like that. So feel free, your fish's fins can be as big or small. I made my one a little bit bigger, not on purpose. Maybe I was thinking of Nemo on this, but just gonna take another one, kind of create the fins. So feel free, you can just fill them in. They kind of look like leaves. If you've ever painted leaves before, they kind of look like a leaf, in my opinion. And then I just cut them out from there, and then I set them aside. That way, these guys are drying. Now that they're dry on one side, I am going to go ahead and paint the back side of these guys, just so he's a little orange. I do recommend when you're painting, unless you want to have to clean a lot of your surface on your table or your countertop or whatever you may be using to paint and color on, to put down some type of surface. So I'm simply using tissue paper, but maybe it's extra paper, maybe it's newspaper, just to keep your surfaces clean and easy for cleanup. That way you can just recycle or throw it away when you're done. So now both sides of my fins are completely orange, so I'm going to let them dry off to the side. And while everybody's drying on that, I'm going to go ahead and create the tail part. So a typical tail on the fish kind of looks like that guy. You can kind of imagine that. but since I'm not very good at drawing their tails, and I thought I could get a little creative with it. So what I'm going to do for my tail instead is I took a piece of, this is simply tissue paper, and I painted it orange. So when I am done, I'm going to take the tissue paper and wrap him around, and then I'm going to cut up each of these. Then he has lots of little streamers and fins to him. So feel free, you can take tissue paper, maybe you want to use ribbon. Ribbon would be really fun to use for his tail. But I just simply took tissue paper just like this, put on some paint on my brush, and I just covered the tissue paper just like that. So feel free, it doesn't take too long to dry, so you can feel free, you can go ahead and do that while you're waiting for your fins and for your body of your fish to dry. So now I'm looking at the body of my fish. I still see some lines from where the toilet paper was stuck onto the roll. So I'm going to go ahead and paint him again. So feel free, like I said, if you like how he looks, you don't have to repaint him, but feel free to add some extra color into him if you would like to do so. So you can see he's brightening up already. All right. So there is the second layer on my body there. And I'm going to let him dry now. And then I am going to add to the fins, I am simply going to add just a little bit of texture so you can see the fish's, the lines and maybe the gills. So I'm just going to take a thin marker Sharpie and I'm going to draw and outline the fins a little bit while I let everything else dry from the paint. So I'm starting by outlining the edges. Feel free, you can do this too. I just think it gives him a little bit more definition. But you can feel free, you can just leave him how he is. And then just gonna add a few little lines. So nothing too crazy, if you can see that there. I just added the thin outline around the edge, and then I added a few lines across the fin body. So I'm going to do the second one now. Now feel free, like I said, to get creative with your supplies. These are the things that were readily available to me, but maybe you have pipe cleaners or maybe fabric. Fabric would be really fun to use on these. You can use any kind of supplies around your house, so feel free to get creative with these. All right, and there's my second little fin there. So now that those are both done, I can set my marker aside. And he is almost done drying. So while that is waiting, to hang him up, so with koi kites, you can make several of these. Right now, I only have one toilet paper roll, but if I had several, I would go ahead and do them all at once. And then as I'm going through each stage, the next one would be ready to paint or add the next little part too. But at the end, what we'll do is we'll we'll tie them all together, and then that way you can hang them. Maybe it could be on your front door, maybe it could be somewhere that you see every day, and that just reminds you to bring your and create your own little life around the world. We have so much bad stuff going on and so much that makes us nervous or scared, and it can be super intimidating, but we have to remember that there are good things, that there are silver linings in and around us every single day. Sometimes it's harder to see than others, but hopefully with your koi kite you'll be reminded to bring a little luck into your own life and be able to spread some good and cheer throughout your day. So I'm just going to use some ribbon to tie him up, and I have some medium adhesive dots that I'm going to use to secure the ribbon onto the toilet paper roll, but we'll do that here in just a little bit. So he is about done drying. I feel pretty confident enough that now we could add some gills or even maybe his eyes. So I'm going to start with his eyes. I'm just going to take some white paint, and then I have a smaller paintbrush that I will be using for his eyes. And feel free, you can put your eyes anywhere you'd like. So you'll just draw 2 white little dots. Feel free, this doesn't have to be perfect. I think the more unique it is, the more special it is, the more fun. So there are my 2 little eyes, and while the white centers are going to dry, I will go ahead and start on the gills. So what I'm going to do for the gills is I'm going to take a little bit of white paint, a little bit of orange paint, just to make the orange a little lighter. And I'm going to mix them together. Just so when I add back to the body, it'll look a little bit lighter, but not too much, and it's not too bright. Like the white would offset it and you could really see the gills. If you would like to see the gills very clearly, feel free to just use the white, but I want it to look a little bit more camouflage like an actual fish. So then I am simply going to take my paintbrush and make little U's. So little U's just like that. You can go all the way around. Big, small, however you like. Remember, this is your koi fish. So I'm going to go ahead and go all the way around with this. So now I have the first layer all around of my gills. And now I will just continue around. These can be a little off center like that. So that's where I start the second row, is where the next little dip will take place. Just so it's a little off. all the way around. And there's the second layer. So I'm going to keep continuing to do this as far down as I'd like. So feel free, you can continue with me. These can be big, they could be small. If you want to do a mixture of big and small, you feel free to do so. It's okay. As you see, I started up here and I ended down there. It's okay if your skills are not all the same. It makes them unique. So the next set I'm making just a little bit bigger, just to kind of offset where I left off and to take up just a little bit more room. Just keep continuing. I'm going to do one more layer just so he's down close to the bottom where we'll attach his fins. So feel free, if you wanted to stop right there, you could, just so you could bring maybe the ribbon or maybe some fabric down on the bottom just to kind of make it done and more finished at the bottom. Or you can continue with your scales all the way down. Just like that. There we go. So now that we have done that all the way around, I'm going to set him up to dry just right off to the side. And I'm going to wait just a little bit longer for his eyes to dry before we put the black dots. And then I'm going to position, kind of think of where I would like his little fins to go. Just kind of visualize where you'd like to place that, just because we're waiting on our paint to dry there. And then you can go ahead and get check on your tissue paper if you decided to paint your tissue paper check on it, make sure that it's dry, that it's ready to go, and we'll set that aside just for now, and we'll be back in just a little bit. All right, now that things are quickly drying on our little fish, we are going to go ahead and make the eyes on the black part of the eyes. So I'm just going to take my little Sharpie again, and I'm going to draw the center. So my Sharpie doesn't seem to be working, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a little bit of black paint, and I'm going to put in the little dots. But feel free, you can use regular marker or maybe even another Sharpie, black paint. Just to make the eyes. And then just like that, he has eyes. So he's coming together. Now the next part, we are going to go ahead and add our little fins that we made. So feel free to grab those guys. Like I mentioned, you can adhere these with adhesive dots, maybe tape. You could even do regular glue, hot glue, but I'm going to use these little adhesive dots. I already cut some out, and I'm going to adhere the dot to the fin, and then I'm going to stick him on where I would like him to go. So just like that, we have one, and I'll go ahead and grab the other. As far as placement for your fins, feel free. What I did is I just look at kind of where the sides are, and then I just gently kind of look at it. I kind of place it there without placing it there, and I'm like, I like that position. If you don't, you can kind of move them around before you get them stuck on there with your glue or your adhesives. And then, oh, that one didn't stick. Sometimes you gotta really hold them on there. There we go. So now he has both of his fins on there just like that. And then now we'll take the bottom part for what you're going to use for your fins. What I am going to do is, you can do this a couple of different ways. Like I mentioned, you could use fabric, you could use construction paper, tissue paper, ribbon, however the fins you would like to be. You can either bring him together down like this and attach them like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll up my tissue paper and stick the tissue paper inside, and then I'm going to close and staple him together at the bottom, just so the fin and the scales kind of go in together, making him a little bit more complete. So I'm going to roll up the fin part. I'm going to stick him in just so you get a little bit more space, just so his fins are covered everywhere. And then this also can help me gauge how big I want the fins to be. Maybe you want them a little bit smaller, maybe you want them a little bit longer. Maybe it'll depend a little bit on what you're using for the fins. So feel free to get a little creative. So I kind of like how he looks just like that. I'm going to go ahead and bring him together just so he kind of has the end point. That way you can see where his body ends and where his tail begins. And I'm going to go ahead and staple him together. I think I'll just use 2 staples. It'll be just like that. And now I'm going to take some scissors and I'm going to cut up towards the body, just so these make little, almost like ribbons, and more of his tail. So feel free, you can, if you're doing this as well, you can make these as long or as short as you'd like. Doing a mixture of both. Just so he has some long and short ones. So then just like that. There we go, our fish is coming together. And then the last little part is we're going to attach some ribbon up at the top so then he can hang. Like I mentioned before, feel free, you can use rope. Maybe you want to use ribbon. Maybe you have a stick with some ribbon and you want to attach them all together. Feel free to get a little creative. I'm going to adhere these with the adhesive dots again. Again, you can use glue, super glue, glue guns, whatever you would like. And then you can make this as long or as short as you want. Feel free to get creative. And there we are. There is my little koi kite. I hope that you enjoyed this craft, and I hope that I can take some pictures of your koi kites and share them with us. We'd love to see them. As always, thank you so much for joining us for our virtual Crafters Corner. I hope to see you hopefully in person here soon, but if not, we'll see you again virtually. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below and we will answer those for you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, guys. Bye-bye.